You're listening to Planksty, a podcast exploring the rich tapestry of Irish dance and the community who loves it. Hosted by Julia Topper, ethnomusicologist, Irish dancer, music educator, and writer, and Kristo Sween, a 20-year Irish dance dad, live camera director for Fesh TV, and operations manager at the Celtic Junction Arts Center. Hey, Julia.
Hey, Kristo. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm very excited for everything that's going on at the moment.
I am too, and I'm super excited for this conversation that we're going to have today with a couple of the key people from the Irish dance globe. Julia, you are connected to these people beyond just knowing them.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be a writer with them for a couple years now, I think. I think I've done about 5 articles for their online publication. And then I've done a couple for their print episodes or issues as well. And yeah, they're just really lovely people, really interesting. I always get excited when I see a message in my inbox from Hollie, who is the editor at the Irish Dance Globe, because she always comes up with just the best stories to cover and just these like great ideas and really, really cool, interesting stuff. So it's been a great experience for me. So I'm really glad that we get to bring them on the pod and chat with them about the story of the Irish Dance Globe and how it came into being.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have these two with us, the very creative individuals with a unique take on covering in depth the world of Irish dance. So we are excited to talk to Colleen Falco, who's the founder and creative director of Irish Dance Globe, and Hollie Geraghty, who is the Irish Dance Globe editor.
Colleen and Hollie, thank you so much for being on the Planksty podcast. We are so excited to have you guys here.
We're excited to be here too.
Thanks for having us. How we're going to get started is I'm hoping you can just tell us a little bit about yourselves, a little bit about your Irish dance journeys, and whoever would like to start it off can go for it.
Take it away, Hall.
So my name's Hollie Geraghty. I'm London born and bred, and I did Irish dancing from the ages of 6 to about 26, I think. It's a bit of a blur from COVID. Grew up dancing in Kyogo and kind of came to competitions a little bit later, kind of in my early teens. Danced in Kyogo until my early 20s and, won All England title in that time, recalled in the solos at the Worlds. But then when I was 22, I decided to make a big change and move to commission. Just wanted kind of more opportunities to compete internationally and just have more Fesh weekends, basically, because there's competition constantly in a commission. So then danced in commission, and my goal there was to qualify for the Worlds, which I did, but unfortunately it was the first cancelled COVID year. Yeah, but I qualified, which was the main goal, and came on massively as a dancer and learned so much about myself as a dancer, and really, really glad I made that decision. That's my dancing story. And in terms of my professional work, I'm a freelance culture journalist, so cover like arts and entertainment. I also do copywriting, and I've been doing that freelance for the past 5 years now.
In the waiting room, Hollie, we were chatting about a famous person that you'd interviewed that made a big impression on one of my kids. Does Irish dance ever come up when you're interviewing famous performers and artists? Do they bring it up? I guess is maybe the better question.
I feel like there have been a few interviews where there have been Irish dancing connections, and I can't miss the opportunity to ask about it. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who that might be. But even, beyond, so I write for publications like Rolling Stone UK, NME, HuffPost, and so a lot of my work covers like music and entertainment, but I have actually published quite a few stories on Irish dancing as well. And I think as it's become more mainstream over the past few years, there's been loads of opportunities to kind of get those stories published in mainstream outlets. So yeah, I've spoken a lot about Irish dancing as much as I possibly can in the mainstream press. I had articles published on Corja and Morgan Bullock in The Guardian,
Cool.
and Dance Magazine, and yeah, just like various places. And one person I did interview about Irish dancing, there's a British singer-songwriter called Joy Cripps, don't know if you know her. But she did Irish dancing growing up, and she actually has Irish dancing on one of her music videos. So we really bonded over that.
That's great.
And yeah, I mean, I feel like when you do Irish dancing, as soon as you meet another Irish dancer, you have to talk about it, don't you? So yeah, I've definitely spoken about it a lot in my work.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Colleen, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'll start with my dance background too, like Halls did. I'm still actually actively competing. This is my 25th year, which just blows my mind. That's like literally this year will be 25 years of dance. I started at Tirnagrania in South Florida for up till I was in college, and I moved to our branch in Orlando. I spent around 5 years over in Dallas and danced for the McGuire Academy with Andy McLean and Darren McGuire. And actually, Holly, you didn't even mention this. We did a tour together
Yeah, I did
during
forget
that
that.
time in mid-20s. That's how Holly and I met.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun. You really bond when you're shoved in the backseat of a van for 6 weeks with someone, and you can't help but fall in love with each other. So that happened. And then, yeah, I'm back in Florida now dancing with Tirnagrania. I think my highlights has been top 10 at nationals, and I've got a few podium spots at Oireachtas and a few world recalls, much more than I ever thought I would do. So just so grateful for everything I've had. And now I actually dance at Raglan Road in Disney Springs.
Oh,
So
fun.
I'm like their swing. So I'm there about once a week. Yeah, so that's my dance background. And for work, I'm the COO of a PR firm called Otter PR. And I teach aerial arts as well. So
Cool. I'm trying to think how Irish dance could creep into the aerial arts. Is there any crossover there? Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
the studio that I work for, they do a very wide range of like apparatuses, and we do a showcase every year. And that's actually where I train because we don't have our school up in Orlando anymore. So I use their studio space to just practice Irish. And my boss is always in there calling it the clickety clack, which I love. And we have showcases every year, and she was like, "Will you please perform for us?" So now every year I do a performance to like Megan the Stallion or
Nice.
Dopey. So yeah, no, there's crossover. They've been begging for a workshop or something to learn it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, so tell us about the Irish Dance Globe. So we'd love to learn the story about what inspired it, how it came together. Why did it come into being?
Yeah, so actually your question too, just about how work and dance intertwine. I actually had a PR client that was a hypnotherapist that wanted to like collaborate on an audio for Irish dancers. And when we created it, I was like, how can I get this to people? Because it's such a cool concept. And then it kind of sparked the question of like, why don't we have more outlets for Irish dancers? And then knowing, Hollie's background and everything, I was like, how do you feel about, starting something, making this like a real magazine? So it went from just a need for an outlet to realizing the hole that we had. And from that, it's become much more than just like, wanting to, of course, celebrate dancers, but the individuality of all the people in this sport. We have so many really impressive people that do so many things outside of just dance, and their success and their stories are so inspiring. So we wanted to create something bigger than just the magazine, but the whole thing as an art form in the community and everything.
When Colleen brought it to me, she had like a fully formed website. She had the logo, she had the name, like it was all like perfect, ready to go. And, we're still using all of that to this day. Website has gone through a few developments, but she just kind of had it down from like day one. And that was around the time that I was sort of branching out into more of my freelance work and cutting back on like my full-time job and trying to make that transition. And I think it was, COVID era 2020, and there was just so much interesting stuff happening in the Irish dancing world, and it was just a really fertile time for creativity. That was when Corja was coming up on TikTok, obviously the Gardner brothers, Morgan, just all these people who were just making Irish dancing, like putting it on the world stage for everyone to see. And I think we both just felt this kind of urgency to be a part of like the storytelling aspect of that. And yeah, thankfully now we have so many other writers on board who also feel that same like passion for writing and Irish dancing and telling those stories and getting them, getting it out there for everyone to read.
And telling a wide variety of stories too. Like that's the thing that's impressive to me. There are a few ways to do it, and one would be to sort of focus on the flashy stuff, but like it's so much richer than that. I mean, that's why Julia and I want to be having these conversations with folks, because it's the conversation that we've had is like it's this tapestry, right? Like it's multifaceted. There's a lot to it. So it's
it goes beyond. I mean, obviously we love hearing the stories of, world champs and podium placers and things like that. But I think your guys' ability to expand it beyond that and really focus in on looking at diversity and inclusion and, like Colleen said, these stories of people who are so brilliant in so many aspects of their lives and how they bring Irish dance to those other aspects, I think is so cool. How do you find writers to support your vision?
So Colleen, I feel like you kind of brought a pool of people who are interested in kind of getting it off the ground and getting it running. And I think there was a batch of articles that were ready to go as the site went live. And there's been, some amazing people that have been writing since day one and have just really supported the vision as it's kind of been developing. And I think the best kind of advertisement for more writers is people seeing the kind of content that we publish, and we get some really lovely messages from people saying how much they value reading the content. And I think also, like I said, like I'm someone who loves Irish dancing and loves writing, and it's been amazing to find so many other people that have that exact same passion where, no one's doing this for like a huge profit or anything. Everyone does this like out of passion, and everyone does it alongside their full-time jobs and alongside their dancing. I mean, if you could see Colleen's schedule, you would be absolutely astounded how she manages to design and work on the website. She designed our first print issue like weeks before her wedding.
Like you do.
And Colleen's husband, Jimmy, does the photography, and they're just like an amazing creative power couple. And I think, in terms of finding writers, we occasionally like reach out on our story to ask if anyone's interested, but really it's just people coming to us. And, for me, I kind of came up in journalism doing a lot of student media and writing for like many platforms that were willing to support up and coming writers and like nurture that talent. And, that's really important to me. And alongside my my work, my day job, I always make time in my evenings or my mornings to sit down and really try to put time and effort into articles and like working with writers and seeing, where things can be improved and making sure that people are getting feedback. Because I think when you have that passion for writing, it's just totally invaluable to have someone to work with on that. So like that, I mean, all the writers are amazing. And I think that's been one of the most rewarding things, is building a sort of like creative community. And honestly, I think I'm in touch with more people in the Irish dancing world through Irish Dance Club than I ever was through competing.
I believe that.
Do the writers that you have in the collective, are they coming up with their own story ideas, or are you coming up with ideas and assigning them based on their style, or is it a little of both? How does the magazine work?
Yeah, it's a little of both. So, we have our kind of flagship cover interviews, and for the first few years we were doing them every month, and now they are bi-monthly. So we'll kind of assign those stories based on who we think, which writers will maybe resonate with that story. It might be that someone, we've done stories on mothers. Julia, you did one for us, I think, didn't you? Yeah,
I did that one for the print one. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so just people that will be able to resonate with those stories and like connect with them. And then, sometimes we'll put stories out there. Sometimes people will come to us saying, are you interested in this? And then we'll put it to the writers, see if anyone can take that on. And people pitch us stories as well, and people pitch us personal essays. So it's a little of everything.
How do you find stories? I know a lot of them probably kind of create themselves and come to your attention when you have someone that's, going viral on TikTok and you want to be able to hear their story. But I'm kind of curious to hear, how you find people for covers and things like
Yeah.
that.
So me and Colleen are just like sending each other stuff like back and forth all the time. So there's just kind of this like constant dialogue going on, and we're always watching people. We're always watching what people are doing, and sometimes the story is like obviously there. Sometimes you need to tease it out a little bit, or we might have kind of a sense that there's a good story behind a dancer based on things we've seen or read or heard, and then we just kind of like try to facilitate that opportunity to talk to them and create that open dialogue. And a lot of the times people will kind of open up a bit more about what, you might see like the title, but there might be something more going on behind the scenes that you wouldn't know. So it's a little bit of intuition, and it's a little bit of kind of like reaching out and just kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. Sometimes the story is just like clearly there, like you said, like big TikTok story or something, and other times it's kind of in unlikely places. So I think it's just trying to keep an eye on everything going on in the Irish dance world, and just talking to people, and just talking to people as well, and hearing from like your friends and your classmates, your teacher, and just people be like, oh, this dancer, like they just placed 12th, but like there's this amazing story behind like what's happened to them recently, and just stories get passed around, and we just try to sort of follow them, and that's pretty much it.
Colleen, how different is Irish Dance Globe now compared to your initial vision?
Wow. Yeah, it's changed quite a bit. When we had started it, I just had, like Hollie mentioned, I had a few friends that I was reaching out to just to see if they wanted to be part of it. And it was like starting with just like tips for dancers, some things I've learned over my, many years of dance. I was doing some like advice pieces, doing some interviews with dancers that had made an impact in my life.
Sure.
I had a lot of fun for me personally. I love the arts. My degree is in art. So the photography, the dresses, all of that was really fun for me. But it was all more just like truly bare bones, just more of maybe a blog style, less article style. And then, now we're so much bigger. To see that we have like a photographer now. Yes, I'm married to him, but still a photographer. And my photography that's grown from it, and like the art aspect that we get to bring into this has been, for me, that part has been so phenomenal. And being able to do more of that with Irish, and I didn't know how much I love photography until working on these projects.
Cool.
It's become so much more of, again, it's an art for me now. It's an art a project outlet versus where it started was just like more of something fun baby steps of what I don't know what we'll do with it, but I'm enjoying it.
I encourage folks, if they don't have the print edition of Irish Dance Globe, to go out and get it, and find the link on the website, because I mean the articles are obviously fabulous, but the photography, it just takes it. It's way more than just a magazine, right? Like this is like coffee table, like you have it out. It's a conversational piece. It's just absolutely breathtaking.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Speaking about the print issue, why did you decide to do that?
Hollie, what sparked this?
What were you thinking?
Excitement, passion, love for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
all
again,
of
the
that.
art portion. Yeah. For me, I think it was like having a tangible art. Like, again, this is an artwork. Like you said, coffee table book. I think seeing something like that, I had actually gone to Art Basel and I got a book from Art Basel from those artists. And I was like, oh, what can we do here?
Yeah.
Like, how can we make this for Irish? How can we do our version of this? And I mean, Hollie is the writer, the word artist for sure. I give her all of that. And that story creation, and being able to find a story creation with that art aspect, that visual aspect, was, I think, what kind of pushed us to. That's why it's like an annual, biannual maybe.
Exciting.
Yeah, I think that was going to be my next question was, I'm sorry, Hollie. Sorry, go ahead.
So we had Amy Mae Dolan on the first cover, and I believe Jimmy, Colleen's partner and our photographer, was already scheduled to take the pictures. And I think we just kind of had a sense that it deserved to be a bigger project, because Amy Mae Dolan, she's phenomenal, and she's just such an incredible dancer and person. And I think we just had a sense that these pictures were going to be amazing as well. And it just felt like, I think we had probably discussed at that point like the possibility of doing something in print, and it just seems like the perfect cover star to sort of launch that. And then it just snowballed from there, and then we got the rest of our stories together, and we got all the other writers involved, and somehow it all came together. Yeah.
What was the process like from the beginning of conceiving that idea of the print issue to actually doing it? Like, how do you do like the publishing? Like, how do you find someone for that? And, how do you figure out the layout and everything? I'm fascinated to hear about that.
It was a huge challenge, but so rewarding at the same time to just start something from complete scratch that you've never done before, because I have a journalism diploma, and there was some training about like the actual like laying up of articles and things, but I have no experience in contacting printers and doing the sort of customer sales side of like managing a website and all like every task that you thought there was 10 more tasks within that. And, just kind of me and Colleen looking through paper samples, it starts off really fun with all the ideas, and we started like a Google Doc with all the potential articles and everything. And, this writer could do that, and just kind of bringing the concept together. And then, it's a matter of actually bringing it to life. And, everyone was amazing. All the writers were so excited, and everyone's pieces were so incredible. And I think it was just a big learning curve. But like I said, a really rewarding one to learn the process from start to finish. And like you said, of laying up the articles, Colleen was, designing everything that you see, like every single page in the weeks running up to her wedding. I attended Colleen's wedding as a bridesmaid, and in the days after her wedding, we were sat on her sofa going over the magazine. It was a pretty crazy time.
Why not?
And then myself and my best friends and my mum and dad, we all just kind of got together in our living room and packaged everything and did all the labels and post collections and run into the post office. And I think it was a really exciting time, and it meant that when we did the second print issue, we were a lot more streamlined, and I think really just prepared to continue making them hopefully into the future now.
That's very cool.
We have a pretty funny story about our first issue and the formatting, Hollie. We had margins. We knew what we were doing. We had like a good program we were using, but we were using different browsers. So for like the last 2 weeks, maybe of us being like, okay, we're finishing this up, Hollie would undo my work because on her computer, it would be off center. And then I'd log on and be like, Hollie, what have you done? But that's like 2 weeks of redoing each other's work over and over again to be like, okay, something's wrong.
Yep.
So that was a wonderful learning opportunity that we fixed by article or issue 2. So.
That's so funny. I guess that's really one of those things like you're not going to know that until you go through it and it happens, and you just got to figure it out from there. Yeah.
It was a huge breakthrough when we realized what was happening, because I think I'm on the UK time zone and Colleen's in Florida, and so obviously I'd be doing my work day and then I'd be working on this all evening, and Colleen would maybe have to reverse sometimes, and we couldn't always get on the phone, and I think we were both just like, what is the other one doing? What's happening here? But once we figured out the issue, it came together beautifully.
That's great.
Yep, it's the globe. Like there's a lot of real estate between it sometimes.
Yep.
Are you guys thinking that you are going to do another print issue in the future? Is this something you want to do regularly? Is it going to be just something like when you guys have the capacity to do it?
Yes to all of the above.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, we want to do more. And Hollie mentioned my schedule is just chaotic all the time. So I have so many passions, and trying to focus down on that is tough. And Hollie is living a very exciting life right now as well. So trying to like connect to get all of that done, because as Hollie mentioned before, she is the one, she gets that printed. She has the magazine sent to her. She's the one putting everything together and mailing them out. And it's difficult to navigate that, I would say, for an annual basis, but the dream is to do it more frequently, for sure. just not quite sure, like you mentioned, as it allows with our schedules.
Any chance that you guys will be able to reprint past issues in case people express interest in that? Or is that something that is like kind of a bit of a task for you guys to pursue?
Yeah, as much as we try to spread the word far and wide to make sure everyone gets their issues, we do always end up doing a second print run, a third print run, because people are like, oh, I completely missed, the opportunity to buy it.
Hard.
So I think for the first two issues, I'd say that for now we're kind of done with the reprints for now, but I think definitely in the future there's potential to do some more. They are limited edition after all.
That's true. Yeah, you got to make that's how it makes it really special, right?
Colleen, can I ask another question of you? So we see lots of couples involved together in Irish dance things. Sometimes the spouse is brought in from the outside, and sometimes they come up in the mix of it. Is Jimmy? Does he come from Irish dance?
Absolutely not.
And so then, is there any navigation around that, or is he?
His life. So, sorry. So
He's a willing collaborator anyway, though.
Yes, he's wonderful. He has been so supportive and really funny. I wouldn't let him come to majors because that's my time. I can't focus on other people.
Right.
And he did his very first major with me this year. He was at nationals, or I guess last year. He was at nationals, 10 out of 10. Best fesh mom I could have asked for that day.
Amazing.
He did so good.
That's
but
awesome.
the most I've got him to do is at our wedding. We did, I think it was the Siege of Venice, and I got him to do that. So, but yeah,
Wow.
not a dancer. Great time. Not a dancer though.
Stay in your lane.
But just to give Jimmy his flowers, I think he has a background in sort of like landscape and street photography. Would that be accurate,
cool.
Colleen? Yep. So Jimmy's photos are really artful in the way that they blend like the dancers. Like Colleen is very good at like directing the dancers, and then Jimmy's got, you'll notice in his pictures there's always like landscape and there's always like interesting backgrounds and interesting architecture, and you really see that in the second print issue. So coming from like an unconventional background in terms of shooting dancers, I think it lends itself to a really unique angle that you don't really see in like from other photographers necessarily. So Jimmy's the best.
I find it fascinating because, obviously we love the dance itself. We love getting in the studio. We love moving our bodies. We love moving our bodies to music. But kind of this expansion of creativity, I think that goes beyond just being in the studio, being on the competition stage, where, you bring in a partner who has completely different life experience, and all of a sudden, like, your ideas start to blend and it creates something totally new. My poor husband, I started dancing after we got married, so he didn't even have a chance to opt out. He just got dragged right in. But he's a programmer, and so he's actually done some coding for various things. He's involved as a backend developer for the Fesh app now, and he gets excited. He gets ideas about but we could do this thing for Irish dancing, and it's just I find it fascinating how we pull in people against their will, right? But we get all of these really creative new ideas and innovations out of it. I think it's fascinating.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
You look at some of the photos he's done. The first issue, I think it's a photo of me in the green outfit.
Yes, yeah.
Me would be like, oh, let's go shoot this on the side of this auto shop. You're on the side of the auto shop? All right. Phenomenal photos. And the one of Aaliyah, there's a shot of her and there's this very, very dramatic shadow going across the background. That is the epitome of Jimmy photography. And then having Aaliyah in there. It is really cool to see that push and pull of, like Hollie was saying, what his background is with that more gritty architectural type of photography, and then blending it with the dancers.
Maybe what we'll be able to do on our social media is we might be able to share a picture or two of that if you guys are open to that, so that our listeners can go and take a look at, because I made the photography really is just stunning. It's such a cool compliment to the amazing wordsmithing that is in the magazine. It's very, very cool. So what do you guys think Irish Dance Globe's role within the Irish dance community is going to be moving forward? Do you see expansion of that? How do you see it supporting the Irish dance community?
Yeah, I think from, the storytelling perspective in the articles, I would like to make sure that the interesting stories that are happening continue to keep being told, and that we're documenting them, and that there's a record of them. And Irish dancing changes so quickly, and you just kind of look at how much it's changed in the 5-6 years since we launched it. And it's really incredible to be able to go back and look at what was happening, in 2020 and 2021, and have these articles there and have them as like a reference point, even for people who are, lacking inspiration, or they kind of want to kickstart, that passion again. And I think as a journalist, you have this sort of innate desire, at least like in my experience, to write things down, and that's my storytelling outlet. You guys are doing a podcast, and other people might make a short film, and I think, I said before, we all do this alongside our full-time jobs and studying and dancing, and as much as we can all continue to kind of keep putting time into telling these stories and doing it in creative and visually stunning ways, I think for me, I'd love to see that continue for as long as we can possibly do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we kind of had another talk recently just focusing on remembering that we have so many more, like Holly mentioned, stories to tell. And there's so many interesting people in our community, and just trying to celebrate them more and shine a light on more than just, I mean, Kristo, you mentioned competition isn't for everybody. We had a chat earlier, and people are doing so much more than just winning competitions,
Right.
and making sure that those people get a voice as well, and they're highlighted as they should be.
For either of you, was there ever a time where you thought, because we're talking about, like, so one of my kids stopped competing. The other two are deeply involved. One is still competing. They're both teaching, like they're in it for the long haul, it seems. Was there ever a period where either of you thought, yeah, I'm going to go until this point and then be done? I mean, I'm assuming that doesn't exist anymore now, but like, was there ever a point where you thought this was only going to be temporary?
I'm still here dancing.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been really hard to leave it. I've been such through an emotional journey. I thought I would never qualify for the Worlds, and then I qualified, and I recalled at my first Worlds, and I was like, what in the world is happening?
That's great.
This is so exciting. This is crazy. So as I feel like I've been getting better and better as I've gotten older, and competition, of course, in senior ladies is so difficult, and it can be hard emotionally to have been at the top and then feel like you've lost that.
Sure.
But now I'm through this new stage in my dance career of just loving it again, because I put less pressure on the result and more just focusing on the enjoyment of being on a stage. I love running around a stage. It's my favorite thing to do. So I went through a period was like, oh, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. And then now I'm reinvigorated again of okay, there's no pressure. Why does,
Yeah.
You put so much weight on competition results when it doesn't need to. We just love this. And now I'm just refocusing on loving it again. So I have no idea when I'll be done. I have no plans.
Just keep on going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think I am well and truly done. But I kind of had a bit of a slow retirement. I didn't really know what was happening at the time. And I think it's because I wanted that Worlds that I qualified for in COVID to be, my one Worlds. And then I was ready to retire. And I just had a lot of injuries, and I was hurting a lot, as senior ladies often do when they reach that point. And I didn't really necessarily know if I could push through that. And then it was sort of decided for me when I was doing a Zoom class, and I had a fall. And I would never really fall during classes. But I had a fall, and it kind of started, exacerbated this existing injury I had. And then that turned into surgery, and that turned into recovery. So yeah, that was kind of a lot of people kind of want to know when the last Fesh is going to be, or when the last major is going to be. And I just kind of I was just slowly sort of drifted off into retirement, which is fine. That's just how the world was at the time that happened. But I think what's really special about Irish Dance Globe is being able to have Irish dancing still be such a big part of your life, because it's really hard to grow up and it's this thing that you dedicate everything to. You think about it constantly, and it's the most important thing in the world to you. And then the thought of that suddenly just not being in your life anymore is quite a strange concept. So Colleen's still dancing, I'm not, but I'm still talking about Irish dancing, watching Irish dancing, speaking to Irish dancers every day.
Right.
And that's how I stay connected to this thing that's really important for me. And I know that our other writers feel like that as well. And I think just another thing to add as well is, in our first print issue, Gabrielle wrote an amazing article about how Irish dancing has become mainstream. And I think it's kind of a really strange thing to go through where you see your niche hobby suddenly be all over TikTok, like on the news. Your friends are sending you videos and people are saying, have you seen this? And I think I feel a really strong desire to ensure that we are the ones who are continuing to tell those stories, because everyone's seen and experienced a non-Irish dancer try to talk about Irish dancing or try to give it the respect that it deserves and just butchering it. So, I think that it's really important for us to stay really involved as Irish dancing continues to be really exciting. And, a great example is, Kate and Morgan being on stage with Beyonce, two people that we put on our cover years ago. I'm just saying. And we saw that they were just amazing people, really creative people, and I think we knew that they were destined for great things. And it's just been incredible to be a part of that and to watch their story from the pretty much the beginning and to see where they're at now. And we just want to be a part of that because we love it so much.
Yeah, the stories are completely worth continuing to tell. That's a great way to look at the mission, like it is so much more than what it appears to be.
I'm just so impressed by the both of you and all your hard work. And the Irish Dance Globe is such an asset to the Irish dance community. So we're thankful for you both. Thank you for all of your hard work and bringing these stories and creating these opportunities for writers like myself and for all those that want to keep telling Irish dance's stories. And I encourage our listeners, if you have not yet read any articles from the Irish Dance Globe, to absolutely pop over to their website, and we'll be providing links in the episode notes about how to do that. Thank you both so much for being here. We're so appreciative to have you.
Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having us. This was so lovely.
And thank you, Julia, because you've been such an important part of the magazine, and you're an amazing writer, and you have so much music knowledge, which we need because, the musicians are such an important part of the Irish dancing world, and we're really grateful for you being involved.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's funny. I guess I'll tell one more quick story. When I was doing my dissertation, I didn't want to write the music chapter. I don't know why. I was I think I was afraid of getting of not being respected, right, with the dance writing, right? Because I was relatively new to the dancing. So to hear you say that makes me feel really good because I feel like I've come a long way with that. So thank you.
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah. Thank you both. I really appreciate meeting you both. And thanks for spending the time with us. It's a lot of fun. And there's lots of stories to tell and lots of ways to tell them. And we appreciate you bringing it to us here. So thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Planksty Podcast. Our technical producer is Kristo Sween. Our managing producer is Julia Topper. Theme music composed and performed by Sean O'Brien. New episodes drop on the 17th of every month.